is actually one that I recorded last. And I'm like, I have a video talking about there's something wrong with the Fever, how they look defeated, everything. And I still stand by those videos, especially because some of them are reactions at the time, right after the game. So, I mean this when I say this. Fire Stephanie White yesterday. Like, fire her yesterday. And the reason why is not that Stephanie White is a bad basketball coach. It's not that Stephanie White is a bad motivational speaker. It's not that Stephanie White is doing a bad job defending her players. It's not any of that. It's that Stephanie White and Caitlin Clark fundamentally have different understandings of the sport of basketball.
Think last week's WNBA chaos was the peak? Buckle up. Lynn Dunn just unloaded a full-blown verbal grenade on Stephanie White for treating Caitlin Clark like a mere ball distributor instead of the scoring tornado she actually is. And trust me, this isn't subtle. We're talking passive-aggressive digs, coaching chaos, and a dash of pure Indiana rage. Why does it feel like Clark is playing with a leash on? Let's dive into this sizzling basketball drama. You won't believe the sparks flying.
So I had a film breakdown prepared today, but I'm actually going to go a different direction. This is a rant because we have to talk about the state of this Indiana Fever team, and I'm here to bring the reality to all you Fever fans. This team is not a championship team. They're not a championship team. They're nowhere near close to a championship team because every team that is a championship team can play defense. This Indiana Fever team has no defense, and that's like the farthest of their problems. Their offense looked really bad today, and Caitlin Clark obviously didn't shoot the basketball well, but I'm not going to blame this loss on Caitlin Clark, even though obviously they would have won if she would have shot the ball well.
Lynn Dunn didn't just wake up and choose chaos. She went full court press with righteous fury and sideline sass. What? Because watching Caitlin Clark casually jog the perimeter like she's training for a Fitbit ad while the Indiana Fever run an offense that looks like a group project nobody bothered to show up for. Yeah, that was the final straw.
To go an entire game where they have not scored more than 20 points, where they have a quarter where they only score 9 points, and to call yourself a professional basketball team is pathetic. To call yourself a professional basketball coach of that team is pathetic. I watched that whole game, and other than Ari McDonald, Aaliyah Boston with a moment here and a moment there, nobody made any type of memorable impact on that game.
When Lynn Dunn blows up, forget polite disagreements or teacup diplomacy. This was a thunderclap in a library. Subtlety? Gone. Tact? Evacuated. What landed instead was a seismic smackdown lighting up every group chat from ESPN to the Fever practice floor. And all of it? Over one coaching choice, or really, a whole series of them, that turned Caitlin Clark from NCAA scoring phenom into a background extra in her own highlight reel.
And said, man, I want to speak on some recent comments that I saw coming across about Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever, right? And this just speaks to a point that I made earlier about like people. It just shows that like how fickle fans are, right? And so, you know, like the Fever yesterday just lost to they lost to the Aces, right? And their record is 6 wins, 7 losses. Same thing for the Aces. Their record is 6 wins and 7 losses. But for the Fever, you know, you have people who are, you know, who want to already run the coach Stephanie White out of town.
That said, I've got to touch on some recent comments I've seen about Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever. Honestly, it just proves a point I made earlier about how fickle fans can be. So yesterday, the Fever lost to the Aces. Their record now sits at 6-7, same as the Aces. And yet, already there are people calling to run coach Stephanie White out of town. Talk about overreaction.
The reason you lost was not because Caitlin Clark didn't score the basketball. The reason you lost is because you stopped doing what was working. What worked for the Indiana Fever, especially in that first half, was a pick and roll with Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston. All you have to do is have a pick and roll at the top of the key. Off that pick and roll, 2 defenders are going to go with Caitlin Clark, leaving Aaliyah Boston to have a wide open lane. That is just the play you should go to every single possession. But how come we never go to it in back-to-back possession? We'll go to it one possession, next possession we don't go to it. Why not? Stephanie White, why not? It always works. 2 defenders are always going to go with Caitlin Clark. There should never be a play where Caitlin Clark brings the ball up the court and then she passes it and she runs off the playoff ball.
The reason you lost? Not because Caitlin Clark didn't score. The reason is simple. You stopped doing what was working. In the first half, the Indiana Fever's bread and butter was the pick and roll between Clark and Aaliyah Boston. One simple action, pick and roll at the top of the key, and 2 defenders collapse on Clark, leaving Boston wide open down the lane. That's a play you run every single possession. So why don't we? One possession it works, the next possession it disappears. Why Stephanie White? What? It always works. There should never be a play where Clark brings the ball up, passes, and drifts off like it's optional. Stick to the formula. Stick to what works.
What was the game plan against her to kind of slow her down?
Well, like I said pregame, it was just to try to make everything as difficult as possible. Like, you know, Asia's one of the best players in the world. You know, you're not going to stop her. So we just needed to make it difficult, and I thought AB did. But Asia did what great players do, and they step up in the fourth quarter, and that's what she did.
Caitlin's 117 real capacity games. What have you said to her, what she kind of said about keeping that confidence in?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is what we have to do as a staff to get her better looks, like higher quality looks. Every game plan is going to be to make her score inside the three-point line.
When a GM speaks with that kind of lava-hot passion, it's not just noise, it's a siren blaring. Fix this mess or brace for impact. This wasn't just underutilizing a star. It was a full-blown basketball identity crisis unfolding live in 4K, popcorn-worthy levels of mismanagement included. Drafting a generational talent is one thing. Treating her like a glorified cheerleader with a decent jumper? That's another. Lynn Dunn saw the same circus fans did. Clark passing off too much, defenders barely respecting her space, and a coaching staff assembling the game plan like IKEA furniture with missing instructions. Stephanie White might be playing the long game, chasing balance or development or whatever media guide buzzword, but Dunn? She was done playing nice. There's no universe where the most electric rookie in years becomes an off-ball ghost while mid-range bricks rain down like it's 1997. At this rate, Caitlin Clark might need a missing persons poster. Last seen setting records in college, now lost in Indiana's rotational Bermuda Triangle. And remember, Dunn isn't some passive exec sipping lattes in a high-rise. She's a basketball lifer, a strategist with decades of receipts, and she's not about to let her prized rookie become the WNBA's most famous bystander. The woman basically slammed the panic button with her shoe.